Joining us now, House of Delegates member in leadership, Terry Kilgore, Republican. Delegate Kilgore, great to have you.
Hey, great to be with you, John. You are really fired up this morning.
Delegate, the crazies are at the gate. I just want to, can you help me outline the caucus of the corn and the people that if they win the speakership, if they win a majority and the caucus of the corn takes over, some of the crazy crackpot policies that are going to come down the pike that nobody seems to see, right? Instead, we're fighting on Facebook about Denver Riggleman presiding over a gay marriage in his own district. And meantime, they have the most outrageous policies facing you right up front, merely inches from being implemented in Virginia. Let's start with right to work. They want to repeal that. They say they're going to do a day one. What happens then?
Well, I mean, if we repeal right to work, we're becoming New York, New Jersey. People are going to leave Virginia. Businesses are going to leave Virginia. I mean, that's just a no-win situation. We're the northernmost right to work state. It's got us to, we're back to being number one in business. If we repeal right to work, we're toast in Virginia as far as recruiting businesses and economic development for the rural areas. It's very important to me and a lot of folks in getting jobs to our folks. So right to work is very important. And if that's repealed, and this is where the business community, the chamber, a lot of folks need to step up and wake up. And if that happens, we're like I say, we become New York, New Jersey, California.
I mean, we are number one state in America to work in. This is why companies come here. And unions are not illegal in Virginia. So that everybody understands, I'm pro-union. I grew up in a union household.
Right.
But I want unions, and a lot of my friends are union leaders, and they come on my show. And we want workers to join unions voluntarily because what the unions offer them is in their best interest. And we want them to do that voluntarily, not make it compulsory, right? That's right. What the argument is. This is not an anti-union position. This is you join it with your own free choice.
Yeah, and see, I came in, I was elected in 1993 when you had reasonable Democrats who would work with you, and you still had Dick Saslaw, but you had a lot of, Dickie Cranwell, a lot of folks across Virginia who, never even thought about repealing right to work. But that's not the case with what I call Virginia Squad 2.0, down here in Richmond. So we've got our own squad down here who are out here espousing a lot of crazy ideals, and you mentioned the Green New Deal, $15 an hour minimum wage, which are going to drive a lot of jobs in abortion on demand up to and including birth. I mean, there's just and gun control, which would include taking hunting guns. So, I mean, it's just a lot of crazy ideals out there. But folks, what they're saying is this will take 2 afternoons in the General Assembly. This is you always say this is the most important election. Well, folks, this is the most important election. We're handing the keys to the General Assembly over to a bunch of folks that are going to change Virginia from now on.
Well, look, you called it the Virginia Squad 2.0. You've got, let's start with Delegate Ibrahim Samira. That's a Democrat in the 86th district. And what did he do? He's the guy that disrupted the president's speech with snuck in a protest banner when we were trying to celebrate, the 400 years in Jamestown. You got him. You've got a communist in Manassas who's going to end up being a committee chairman. I mean, think about this.
Lee Carter, yeah.
Lee Carter. Hashtag Commie Lee of the CCCP. This guy is this is a guy, let me just get this straight. This is a guy who did a Facebook post and says, if I'm reelected, I will join Antifa. Antifa, he says he's going to join it.
And they're, in my opinion, they are a terrorist organization. They are out here committing acts of violence, and it's just, and I call them, anybody who creates, on either side, who creates act of violence should be, treated as such. And, we're going to beat Delegate Lee Carter. Ian Lovejoy's going to do a great job up there. We're going to win that seat. We're working hard to win that seat. Ian's working hard to win that seat.
And then you've got crackpot Mark Levine, a left-wing whack job in Northern Virginia, who basically says, elect us and let's put in Caucus of the Corn. And the first thing I'm going to do is pass gun legislation so that anybody in Virginia that owns any semi-automatic weapon at all is an automatic felon the next day. I mean, these are the things that they're proposing. I'm not making this up. These are bills they have.
You are not making this up. These are actual bills, actual policies that they're advocating, and that message needs to get out. And that's you made a good point before I went on. We need to quit fighting among ourselves about things that really don't matter, and focus on this election and get. And if I agree with somebody 90% of the time, as Ronald Reagan said, they should be my friend. So that's what we need to start focusing on.
This is generational political Armageddon for Republicans, because and we're with Delegate Terry Kilgore, House of Delegates member, Republican, Southwest Virginia area, in leadership. Terry, because look, if the Caucus of the Corn, Eileen Filler-Corn, takes over and they bring these people in, they are not going to vote for One Virginia's nonpartisan redistricting plan.
Absolutely not.
They are not going to vote for that. 13 of them voted against it last time. They're going to get a majority. They're not going to give this up. The whole thing is gerrymandered on their behalf.
I served in the minority. I can tell you what it's like to be in the minority. And they didn't give it up then, and they're not going to give it up if they get the majority. So, I mean, they're just, this is just a ruse. They're not going to vote for bipartisan or nonpartisan redistricting, which, in my opinion, there's no such thing. So,
well, there's a plan by One Virginia that passed the House 87-13, passed the Senate 39-1. But that's got to get passed again to get on the ballot. They're not going to pass that. I don't care what they say. They are not. No. They are going to stop that, so you can forget that. Then they're going to gerrymander the federal lines for Congress to bake in Spanberger and Elaine Loria. They're going to bake those in and manipulate that so they can't lose. So November could dictate a generational shift here. And the other thing is, if you don't have any state offices, don't have the speaker's gavel, don't have the Senate, and that's gone, Terry. Now they're not going to maintain that, in my judgment. If they lose everything, you're not going to be able to raise any money going into 2021 or whatever. Nobody's going to be able to raise any money. Nobody's going to give money. All the money is going to go to the Democrats. Look at what they're getting right now. Who is this guy, Michael Bills, and Sonia Smith, his wife from Charlottesville? Who the hell is this guy? Right. He's giving out $30,000 to $50,000.
And you're right. You have to sign a piece of paper that says you're going to vote for clean energy. You're going to do away with a lot of what we rely on to make our electricity reliable. To make sure, I'm all the above. I'm not against solar or wind, but the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun doesn't shine all the time. So you have to have gas, you have to have coal. So just to make sure that when you go to that light switch, that the light comes on.
Delegate Terry Kilgore, let me ask you this: if you accept money from a donor, right? Now, it's one thing to go to a fundraiser and, everybody gives $1,000 a plate, or you have a speaker there and they're giving you money because they believe in your overall agenda, right? But there's no specific piece of legislation. If a donor comes to your office and says, here's a check, and this is what they do. Here's a check for $30,000, 20 for me, 10 for my wife. In order to get this check, you have to sign this pledge. You have to sign this document that says you are going to vote on this legislation this way. Otherwise, you don't get the check. Is that not a quid pro quo or not?
It's very close, because I'll tell you one thing, I'm not signing something like that. That's just, and to think if this was on the right, if a right conservative group was saying, hey, you got to vote this way to get this, can you imagine what the fake news press would be saying about us?
I mean, you can only imagine. This would be on the front page of the Washington Post every single day. But this guy, Michael Bills in Charlottesville, that, by the way, nobody's ever heard of, some hedge fund manager. He can give out millions of dollars of his own money with his wife. It's one thing if he's saying, hey, I want a Democratic majority because I believe in their policies. I'm going to give everybody $100,000 to win. Do it. Or if soft money comes in, I mean, I get it. Bloomberg's Everytown USA, soft money comes in. That's independent of the candidates. They want to run their ads under the system we have. They have a right to do that. That is very different. I mean, if Terry McAuliffe wants to come in and give you money because he wants a Democratic majority, that's different. He's not saying, I'm going to give you $20,000. I want you to sign this document that you will vote this way on this specific issue. That is a quid pro quo. They're getting away with it, and nobody calls them out. And you talk about dark money. I mean, you can't get darker than that.
I agree totally, John. And everybody talks about Dominion or AEP playing in politics. This is far worse than any of that. And you never hear anything about those donors. Sure.
Instead, Dominion Energy gives somebody $5,000. It shows up on their website. It's completely transparent. They give them $5,000 or $10,000. There's no document to sign. There's no pledge to sign. There's no commitment to make. It's like, hey, we like what you're doing. We like you to keep getting reelected. You're reasonable. We have a conversation. That's what all donors do. They're not saying, look, I'm going to give you $10,000, but you got to sign this document, and I got to put it on file. That's what Michael Bills is doing, and it's nobody will call them out.
Yeah,
except me and you.
And you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Well, look, the crazies are at the gate. This is the other thing they've pledged to do. The tax cut you guys passed that aligns itself with the Trump tax cut. Here's what else Caucus of the corn said they do. They're going to take it away.
They're going to take it and spend it.
They're going to take it. And then they're going to raise your taxes.
Next week, everybody will be getting their checks. Their checks will be going out. And, had it not been for the Republican majorities in Senate and the House, that would have never happened. Those monies would have been spent. And, also what would have never happened, we couldn't have kept our colleges and universities from raising tuition. That's the first time in years that has not happened, John.
Well, that's going away. The crazies are at the gate. They have crackpot legislation, including getting rid of right to work, $15 minimum wage across the board. Look, I'm in favor of paying people $15. I just want to do that voluntarily. The market is driving that. They want to do that. They're going to get rid of the Trump tax cut. They're going to raise taxes. They're going to do that. Lest we forget, they want infanticide. They want a mother to be able to terminate the birth of their child, according to the governor, even after it's out of the birth canal and on a table in a towel. Governor Northam said that. Kathy Transbill basically said, if the baby is coming out of the birth canal and you all of a sudden decide, this isn't for me, no baby. That's
right.
Terminated, right? That's
terrible. That's terrible. So no matter where you stand on abortion rights, that is barbaric.
Infanticide, get rid of right to work, get rid of the tax cuts, take your guns away. I mean, the crazies are at the gate, and Caucus of the Corn has no ability to control these people any more than the national leadership can have any say over the squad. And so that is what you're going to get here in Virginia. And then they're going to do away with the nonpartisan redistricting. That's gone. And so it's generational Armageddon. And what Republicans have to do, this is my wake-up call. You got these nutbags.
I'm glad somebody's doing this, John. This is, we got to have this wake-up call.
And everybody's got to do it because these nutbags are at the gate. You nailed it earlier, Delegate Kilgore, when you said Alfonso Lopez, House of Delegates member, left-wing, progressive, whatever, in Northern Virginia, said legislation that we have dreamed about doing for 40 years, we're going to get done in 2 afternoons. Game, set, match. That's what we're faced with. So if you're Republican, knock off the fighting. Knock off the Facebook crap with somebody doing a wedding.
Absolutely.
Get up off your butt. Drive to Richmond. Drive to Hampton Roads. Drive to Prince William County. We've got 10 races that are tied that are going to determine who controls Virginia for 40 years. Knock it off, and let's get this done. You with me?
Yes. You're exactly right, John. We all need to circle the wagons and get our volunteers from the southwest and south side parts of Virginia and the more conservative areas. We need to really step it up this year.
Delegate Terry Kilgore, the crazies are at the gate. We got to act. We got to act now, and we have to point out what happens. You elect Republicans again to the House of Delegates majority, and they are going to keep this economy going and flowing the right way instead of the crackpot things that are going to come down the pike that's going to make your life miserable. And I'll tell you something else. They'll never fix a road because they don't care about roads. Here's what they care about: national politics. That's all they care about. That's what they're driven by. They don't care about your road or your school. They want the squad agenda. I'm out of time. I got to go. John Fredericks Radio Network